I wish that we would have known that.
Yeah, it would have been a great tool and a resource for us to even look into. Is there a problem? Is there something that we should look into further?
Hey fam, welcome to The Cole Life. We have a special video and a little bit personal video that we are going to share.
I feel like all of our videos are personal at this point, so welcome to our lives.
That is true. If you haven't, like, comment, subscribe, get to know us, join our family. We would love to have you a part of our community, and let's get into it.
So this video is actually sponsored by a really awesome organization called LetGetChecked. This organization reached out to us once they saw our IVF journey and looked at what we went through and just wanted to be able to provide additional resource and tools to our audience to give them something to look at if they're going through a similar situation or even struggling or potentially struggling. And
we're gonna talk a little bit about what they do, but we wanna kind of share a little bit about our story. We were reflecting on the end of the year. Literally during this time last year, a lot of stuff went down as far as our faith and our belief in what faith actually meant to us.
And you guys know our IVF journey in general. We've given you the background of that, but this is more specifically at one instance of that story and how we had to grow from that and increase the way we thought about faith and how we believe in God and what we're really believing in Him for.
Yeah. During this time last year, we were going through our IUI journey. For those of you that don't know our IUI journey, we will put it in our suggested videos of IVF, but we were in like full faith that the IUI process was going to work for us. And when we mean like full faith, it was literally during this time, Christmas time, and we were planning on how we were going to tell our parents that we were going to be pregnant.
Like on Christmas. We were
Christmas.
We were going to tell them this is going to be the best present they ever had. Like, we're super excited, but...
And how I was going to share with Brian, even though we knew we were going through the IUI journey, we were like, yes, I'm gonna somehow still surprise him with it and tell him. And we were, in our minds, what we thought faith is that if we want something, we're just going to believe that it's happening like right now,
because, you know, again, from our previous stories that you guys may or may not have watched, God told us and has promised us that we were going to have a child. That has already been prophesied multiple times. We've heard that personally. We knew that a child was going to be in the future. And
we felt that God was in this time. We felt that it was time for us to try.
And then we made a decision, us two personally, that we were just going to have faith that the first round of IUI was going to be the way that it happened. This was going to be the timing. And we just believe like this is what God has promised us overall what's going to happen. So we're going to believe that it's going to happen now.
And even in one of our videos, when we were talking about the house, we talked about our different levels of faith. So I think I was even pulling Brian into more so like, we need to have full faith. We are going to do this. If we want this baby, we need to believe that we're going to have it in December, Christmas time. Like, we needed to do that.
To the point where there was just no doubt.
There was no doubt.
There was no doubt in our minds it was going to happen.
That was not the case.
Christmas Eve came. We found out that wasn't true. She had her period.
I mean, it was one of those things where literally it was probably the most, I wouldn't say traumatizing, but it was very hard for me to grasp what happened, because on Christmas, I want to say it was the day before Christmas Eve, and we were telling we told our bishop that we wanted him to pray with us because we just went through the IUI process and just like kind of confirm what we were believing. And literally as he was praying, I started my period.
Yeah, that was rough.
I tell you, that was probably the worst Christmas I've ever had. It was one of the worst.
Last year was tough.
During that time, like I got so down, and I'm usually, even when it comes to my faith, I'm usually very, you know, once something happens, I'm like, okay, I need to do my steps. I need to pray. I need to meditate. I need to make sure that, you know, I go through like a grieving process, but I really know what I'm doing next. I know what's happening. And I did not do that at all. I was literally down and out.
Yeah, you got knocked out.
I got knocked out hard. And a lot of times when I get knocked down, I try to get back up immediately, not realizing that I need to take time. And I literally took time. Me and Brian like both cried for a long period of time, and we just kind of stayed to ourselves. I don't even think you knew what to do during that time.
I didn't know how to process what was happening, because again, we'll talk about this, but our faith levels or our faith styles almost were different. And so this was something that was a little bit more intense for me to believe in to that degree.
Right.
To the point where I was just completely sold out with this idea, and there was no doubt in my mind. So when it didn't happen, it kind of shook me for a second. It shook me like, God, I gave you everything. Like, I gave you my heart, soul, mind, spirit, emotions, body, like everything that you would want from me. I offered it to you and believed that you were gonna come through for us.
Yeah.
When we realized that she had her period and we were not gonna have a child this month, we had to then take a step back and properly interpret what just happened. Because we had to be very careful so that we're not blaming God for anything. And I think a lot of Christians can identify with a point in your life, in your walk, where you've probably been through that phase of didn't get something you believe for. Now what? What does that mean? How do we interpret that? How do we properly categorize that?
Or think that doing something like IUI is something, like once it doesn't work, oh, I should not have did this. I should not have did it. I should have just stuck with what I was used to. I should have just maybe kept trying, or all of those things. And you start to go backwards instead of moving forward or waiting to actually hear from God. When we actually analyzed our whole story, we realized that God said what he said. He said that it was time for us to try, and he said that we would have a child. We would have children. He didn't tell us the specific time. He didn't tell us that that it was going to happen through IUI. But we put those things in our heads because emotionally we're attached to, we want a child right now. We want a baby right now.
God told us we were going to have it, and we just kind of almost thought, why not now? We've been struggling getting pregnant naturally for about a year at that point or so, or however long it was. So why not now? We're just gonna believe it.
And we took the step to actually figure out what's wrong with us. We did that. We did that as a step of like, okay, let's do something different. Which honestly, that is something that was foreign for both of us.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people, I don't like making generalizations or over-categorizations about Christians or people groups, but many people have not only approached us, but just in general believe that if you do something like getting checked out, or if you go to the doctor and inquire what's going on with my body, or if I go and I seek something that is not 100% natural, is that not having faith?
Yep.
Are we counteracting God, and we're taking life into our own hands and just trying to do things by the flesh? That's the question that we get a lot. A lot of people don't believe that even we maybe have handled it the right way of even having a child through IVF, because they look at it as we took life into our own hands and did something counteractive to God. But even if we look at Abraham in the Bible and how God promised him to give him not only offspring, but to have generations that were so many in number that it would be like the stars in the sky or the sand on the beach. So that was God's promise. Abraham had faith in that promise, believed in that promise, but then he took his own mindsets and applied it to the situation and said, the way that I believe God is going to do this is by me sleeping with my handmaiden, is that the right term? And he produced Ishmael. All the while God's in heaven like, this is not what I promised. This is not how I'm doing it. I told you that I would give you a son between you and Sarah, your wife. And it shows that, again, we try to take things into our own hands. We try to bring God's thought and funnel it down into our finite thinking so that our minds can handle it, or our minds can interpret something that we can be as realistic or reasonable or rational. But
because it's taking too long. Let that simmer. It's taking too long. And honestly, that's why we worked with Let's Get Checked, because they are an in-home fertility testing that they will send to you. They not only do at-home fertility testing for women, they do it for men too. And surprisingly, people don't realize that, which is what we talked about, is that most people think that it's the woman that has the issue with fertility.
A lot of times it's the guy.
Yeah, and you would never know that if you don't get checked. We will show you like all their prices right here, but it really shows you that you can actually get checked without you having to go to the doctor. You can start at home. I wish that we would have known that.
Yeah, it would have been a great tool and a resource for us to even look into, is there a problem? Is there something that we should look into further, right? And just kind of even calming those nerves a little bit. It would have been nice to have that.
When we posted our IVF video, we received so many messages from not only just women, but also men that were telling us that this is the reason why they decided to go, was because they watched our IVF video and they saw that we were, one, open to sharing, but also we were Christians who believed in getting checked.
And I think for myself and a lot of conversations I've had with other Christians in the past, a lot of times it's easy to put God in a box and define the parameters in which he will work in your life.
Yeah.
We put timelines on things of when we think God's gonna do something by. We put a look and feel to it of how we think he's gonna move, and whether it's a miracle or whether it's just opening up an opportunity or just blessing you in whatever regard. We put limitations and constraints on our own level of thinking and our own finite thinking of how God's gonna do something. And what that leads to is oftentimes us brushing aside a lot of the resources and tools that he is putting in place for us to be able to attain a miracle, or to be able to actually grab hold of what he's trying to produce in our lives.
You will not go to the doctor. You won't go and talk to anybody about your situation. You'll just say, this is just me and my wife. We're going through this.
God is just going to do it.
And it's and not to say that God doesn't work in those ways.
Yes.
But my biggest concern is that we're not talking to God about it. We're just assuming that that's the only way that God can work. We want you to just make sure you know what's happening in your body, regardless of what you choose to do. Once you figure it out, if God still tells you that you need to just do it this way, then do it this way. Or do the let's get checked. Have the testing and know, then do it that way.
We need to make sure that we're leaving room for God to work in the way that he's going to work, and that we're opening up our mindsets and not limiting him and constraining him to those things. I don't want to make a judgment on God because it didn't happen today and he's over here like, I never told you it would happen today. I planned on it for happening tomorrow. I think we just need to be very, very careful about that. But when we do hear from God, when he does tell us something, and when we feel that this is him speaking, that's when we put everything we have into that thing.
And hear what God is exactly saying. One of the things that I think hurt us the most was that we put our own specifics in a plan that was so broad with God, where we literally limited it down to like this much. If you are struggling with fertility, if you are just struggling with your health and you're trying to figure out what's wrong, get checked out. Figure out what's wrong. Let's Get Checked has an at-home test that you can do for this. And we know that so many people have come to us saying like, I'm gonna finally go to the doctor now because of the videos that you've shared.
And I'll come clean. I think men struggle a lot with this. Men in general go to the doctor less often than women. And I'll say that with me, I have not gotten a physical checkup in about 2 years. We're working on that. And I'm open now, and there's a lot of other things that have made me open to making sure that I'm going and being proactive about things. And we've talked about this in the past, but again, it goes so much deeper than just health. Being proactive with your health and upkeeping that, but being proactive with your spiritual life, being proactive with your relationships, having checkups, talk to a counselor, talk to a pastoral leader, talking to people to make sure that every aspect of your life is healthy, know what's going on.
Yeah. Please let us know what you think of this video. We would love to hear your thoughts on just health and faith and what that looks like. Again, we want to make this very, very, very clear that we are not saying that you should not have all-out faith for things that God has told you is happening at the time and place that you say it. We want to make that very clear. There's just different levels and different types of faith. And we will put our link below of Let's Get Checked. And we have a discount code for all of you guys that are trying to have children, or you just want to know where you stand on your health and your fertility. They have so many levels of tests that you can do, and they are very affordable compared to how much we personally spent to just find out what was going on. Believe me. Do this. This is a lot better than what we did.
As you will all see, that my wife is donning a beautiful display of faith right now that we are due in April. So
it's not a faith, it's a fact. It's
fact.
This baby is coming in April.
Also, I'd like to say that I don't really feel that it's fair that I walk out of the bedroom with my little casual sweater on and she all dolled up in a nice blazer that I bought her. That's not okay. We are on two different levels. She looks so much fancier than me right now.
It's not true.
Just gonna let you have the spotlight. Just
take
the spotlight. Yeah, so thanks for joining us again. We appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also hit us up on Instagram at _thecolife_.
We love you all. We can't wait to see you next year. Stay tuned.
Next year.
See you soon.
Matthew's coming in.
And then wait it.
Quick second.
Say it with chest. Go ahead.
I believe, shine bright like a diamond.
I'm done.